Let's talk made in Dorrigo. There's no doubt that small towns struggle through the world. Some survive, some will prosper, and some are destined to fail. There are many reasons for the decline of small communities. Maybe mining has ceased, a bypass has prevented people from coming into town, the railway might have closed, or a timber industry has closed, or dairy deregulation. You name it, it's happened. It's well documented that the philosophy and mindset of a small, passionate handful of people in a small town will often determine the survival or not of that town. Susie Snodgrass is a member of the Made in Dorrigo subcommittee. And Susie Snodgrass joins me now. Susie, good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
Now, we're going to talk Made in Dorrigo Day, but it's much more of an issue. For you as a Dorrigo resident, you don't see it as just a day that showcases what happens in Dorrigo and then people go away. You're showcasing how the town is going about its very matter of survival, aren't you?
Yes, we're telling a story and people like the story. We're showcasing the uniqueness of our town with our Made in Dorrigo Day. Therefore, we're branding the plateau, so Dorrigo becomes synonymous with special. But the way we go about that is different. It isn't just, you just don't have a market. And we're in our fourth year now. This will be our 11th. And we figured out, a little passionate group of us figured out over 4 years ago, that there was a way of doing things rather than the I told you there was a big chance, I told you there could be a huge tourist draw, I told you you're missing out on new business, because that's a problem. You're telling them, you're not showing them. So, telling isn't the same as acting, and if you don't act, then in a small town you shouldn't be surprised if nobody else does either. If nothing happens.
Yeah, you don't want people, like an ideal situation is you don't want people just to come to a town, buy something and then go away again. You want them to take away a lasting impression and a sense of community, an integrated community.
Exactly. And a significant spin-off of aggregating all that passion in one place one time, 3 times a year, is the visitor that's attracted to the event then leaves with that feeling of, wow, that's a different town. I mean, our coverage and exposure that we've generated now is quite huge, but our business community is on display. We don't close the street. There are no barricades. It's just a great Saturday in Dorrigo, and we trade, and the display is not only of goods, but we're displaying good old-fashioned friendship, service, good manners, civility, and those are the renowned hallmarks of a country town. And if that might just make somebody come and live here, wow, what a bonus that would be.
Yes, I'll say. I'm just trying to find a little track here that might, if we had a little track here. Let me read something about Dorrigo. This is a bit of purple prose. In spring, Dorrigo bursts into bloom. Summer days are beautiful, but in autumn, Dorrigo shows its rustic, rural charms. A slight crispness to the air, a turn of autumnal leaf, the ruby red of the crab apples, all signal the turn of the season. Trucks rumble down the town, laden with Dorrigo spuds, hewn from the rich red soils of the plateau, whilst spinners and weavers oil their wheels, and the fresh night air provides welcome relief to the residents of the plateau. Life is good, the harvest is in, and creativeness abounds. Lovely prose for a town, but there's a lot more than just that, isn't there, in small towns?
I didn't know you were going to read what I wrote.
Well, see, you've written 2 different things, and that's the interesting thing. You've kind of written what you've painted the nice picture that people like to read in papers, but there's also the broader picture of there are spiky, prickly moments behind the facade in every community, aren't there?
Oh, of course. And there's no doubt that communities that often fail because they have cave dwellers, which is a community against virtually everything.
Yes.
And because there are always opportunities, a community doesn't have to fail just because it's small. It might have significant natural attractions like we do here in Dorrigo. Other towns market their history. Nundle goes for gold. That celebrates the contribution of the Chinese in Australia's early history.
Yeah.
Dorrigo had 5 timber mills, an abattoir, a butter factory, a bacon factory, and a 90-year-old told me yesterday that we had 5 football teams and 5 cricket teams. Now we've got to look at our creativity and talents, as well as the older approach of come and experience the clean air and the natural beauty.
Yeah.
We do this by using a clever little model that Made in Dorrigo subcommittee has done, and we're doing ABCD, which is asset-based community development. So we're building community through exposure to itself of its own incredible talents. And when you spoke with Paul McKeon about the How to Be Happy, Retired and Single, he mentioned the physical and mental value in being involved in your community, and he was actually saying being out and in it. Now, 3 times a year, by crikey's, Dorrigo comes out.
Yes.
And that's fantastic because, as you said earlier, when you're alluding to those different things that other towns, larger towns admire, that just the hallmarks of a country town. A lot of people out enjoying themselves that are showing how passionate they are. And if you do it 3 times a year, there has to be commercial benefit in the long run.
Yeah, I love... Go ahead.
That's right.
I was just going to say, I love that mnemonic ABCD, asset-based community development.
That's right.
Of the postcode 2453. Now, that is the kind of one limiter that Made in Dorrigo Day applies to itself, isn't it? It's got to be everything from within that postcode.
That's right. Oh, and yes, you've got to make it yourself. Yes, and that makes it totally unique because there are lots and lots of markets. And Fiona was talking about Made with Love this morning, which is going to be held in Coff. Now, we like to think that's a bit of a spin-off of what we do, that's a craft type of event, which is wonderful. But we have just the variety of things that people can do up here on the plateau is just amazing. But you've got to make it completely different to every other market. And if you know that everything that you see that day is actually made here, it can only be seen here.
Could Dorrigo reinvent itself as the vodka capital of Australia, Susie?
I wasn't going to bring in we had a distillery as well. But we do. There are only 18 in Australia. Now, you see, I could say to you, Dorrigo needs Red Dirt Distillery. Does Red Dirt Distillery need Dorrigo? You see, this is the way you've got to look at it.
Yes, it does.
If you're not passionate, about your community, you may as well just be a cave dweller.
Okay, well, it's not just vodka on display. There's a whole range of goods. Tell us what will be on the market stalls on the street tomorrow in Dorrigo.
Oh well, we've got all and everything. We've got food. We've got produce as well. There are freshly dug potatoes. I know there's garlic coming in.
You got pears?
Don't know. Probably. It just depends on what turns up at the day. They don't actually always tell us what sort of produce they're going to bring in.
You got honey?
There should be. We've got a local. We've just got a new couple in town that are queen bee breeders.
Really?
Yes. Just moved out near me up here at North Dorrigo, and so that's going to be absolutely fascinating. Things are happening up here. They really are. We've got a blueberry farm in, we've got avocados in, we've got people growing saffron, we've got people growing truffles. We're actually starting to get into that, the true nature of agribusiness, where you actually have to value add it, and at that top end.
And you've also got one of those traditional hallmarks of a great rural town is the pumpkin competition. Oh,
yes. How wonderful is that? The Show Society asked if they could come on board with us and do their pump. Well, goodness gracious, there's a window full at Misty Threads, and I mean, I've seen big pumpkins. They've done this before, but they've excelled themselves this year, and so they're going to have quite a lot of prize money, but they're going to have pumpkin scones and pumpkin bread and pumpkin soup and all sorts of pumpkin things. So that's a lot of fun too. But there's all those wonderful artists and artisans where you get beautiful sculpture and exquisite glasswork and I mean knitting that's just unbelievable, and the price, you think you can't buy the wool for that.
Yeah, yes.
And they're sitting there doing it.
Yeah.
They're just so passionate.
Autumn must be a beautiful time of year in Dorrigo.
Absolutely stunning. I'm just standing here looking out over my veggie garden and my orchard and my ducks, and the sunlight is just exquisite. And tomorrow is forecast a beautiful day.
Yeah, well, vote one Dorrigo, I say.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't just say that, but, some people say it. So Dorrigo, Made in Dorrigo Day is tomorrow?
It is.
Starting at what time?
Starts at 8 a.m. and goes through till 2 p.m.
Yep.
in the main street, Hickory Street. Lots of adequate parking. There's no street closures. Both sides of the street will be absolutely chock-a-block with wonderful, wonderful things, all made by the people of the 2453 postcode.
And it's very good of the state government to put on an election to help get people out into the streets of Dorrigo, isn't it?
Yes, we complied with the electoral officer's requirements of a certain amount of free space outside the community hall for the card tables and the handing out of pamphlets.
Yeah.
We had a little. There was a little a restriction there. You're not allowed to do things on polling day. But yes, we thought, well, that's pretty clever, isn't it?
Good on you, Susie. Now, Dorrigo Day, Maiden Dorrigo Day, tomorrow from 8 a.m. through till 2 p.m. Be there or be square, as they say.
Thank you so much. We really do appreciate the support of the ABC, and we really, really are grateful for the time that you give us. And we just think we're doing something totally unique and totally special. And we would love other communities to take the model and work for their own community, work for their own people, make your own community feel good about itself.
Yeah. Well said. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to talk with you. Susie Snodgrass, a member of the Maiden Dorrigo subcommittee, and Maiden Dorrigo Day, one of 3 each year, is on tomorrow from 8 a.m, goes through till 2 p.m. So vote.